So we, this whole week, have been spending time trying to all qualify for the grade bump in algebra for the ACT Aspire. So if you're a ninth grader, you could qualify for the grade bump if you score 428 or higher on the ACT Aspire math test. So even if you had a 10% F last semester, all that gets printed is the F. And they would bump your grade by a letter grade if you score that score or higher on that portion. And it applies to both semesters. So highly recommend, like you've been seeing, it's basically middle school math. So this could be your jam, like this could get you the grade you want and have you pass without you having to retake the class. So that's what we've been doing. Hopefully it's been useful to you. Today, I do have a Kahoot prepared, but also know that in all your algebra classes, you are required to show growth in IXL. So if you've not been doing that, or you think you like need more time with that, or the packet, or something else from this week in math, then sit out of the Kahoot and do that. But when I look around and evaluate you for points, you need to either be engaged in the Kahoot and taking notes, or working on like IXL, something else math related, those are your options. Okay, so if you need to adjust the desk so that you can see the Kahoot, that's fine. Just put it back as you go, but those are your options. I'm gonna pass out papers to each of you, but if you're not doing the Kahoot, just like pass the paper down until it gets to you and then pass the paper down until there's no more people left, and then put any extras on like an empty desk. Any questions? Yes. Okay, but if you are doing the Kahoot, then you have to actively be engaged in the Kahoot. Or do something else, like IXL, you so grow. If you're in my algebra, then you also have that packet due today in Schoology. So. Are you there? No. Oh, wait, what? Are you guys thinking it? No. Okay, so again, you're allowed to sit out of the Kahoot if you have other math things that are due today that need to be. Okay, how many cups are needed to fill a gallon container without using Google from your own brain? From smallest to the next highest to the next highest. So I don't remember or have memorized how many cups are in a gallon, but I do have memorized that there's 4 quarts in a gallon. And then the next step lower than that would be pints. So like how many pints are in 1 quart? Anyone can answer. But how many pints are in 1 quart? Good. The next step lower would be cups. So how many cups are in a pint? Not 4, 2. So it's 8 for the round, so it's for round cup. All right, but knowing these, like I would memorize these and then go to the one I desire. Like if I need to go from cups to gallons, well, if there's 4 quarts in 1 gallon and 2 pints in every quart, that means I have 8 pints total for 1 gallon. And then if each pint has 2 cups, then I know that there are 16 cups. 3 times 8. I would work it that way. So I'd memorize what's in the red. I would use my problem solving skills if I needed to go like over a few words. Questions on that? Okay, so if you're doing the Kahoot, you take notes as you go. This is the next one. All right, you need 8 cubes of ice for every gallon of tea. How many cubes of ice do you need for 4 gallons? They kind of tell you the conversion. But I would set up a proportion for this. And the way that I would set it up is for every 8 cubes, that's equal to 1 gallon. And when I set it up as a proportion, it's kind of like a fraction. 8 cubes for every 1 gallon. And I set it equal to a way that I can solve for what's missing. It's saying how many ice cubes do you need per 4 gallons? So I'll put the gallons down here. That way it like lines up. And what I'm solving for would be like my unknown, my variable. The way that you solve proportions is by cross multiplying. So 1 times x is just x, equal to 8 times 4, which is 32. That's how I would solve problems like that. You could also put gallons on top if you wanted. But however you do set it up, you have to keep it consistent. So if I'm putting gallons on top, then that means you test it along the bottom. So that way, when I cross multiply, I still get the same answer. Right, so be able to set up proportions. All right, on to the next one. Yeah, Harley asked first, so I'll go to her. And then I'll do. All right, but here's the next one. Solve 32 over 5 times 25 over 4. For calculator you plan to use on your ACT Aspire, you should be practicing with now. Fractions can go in both calculators, whether it's the one in the test or like the handheld one. I just recommend you put any fraction in parentheses, like this. Fraction bar means divide, so I'm pressing the division button. And we want to multiply these. And here's my other fraction. Oops, let me get that. Okay, so 25 division sign 4, and then I should get the answer, including if I use the other calculator that's like not as user friendly, but if you don't have the other one, then you can. I don't have it open right now, but or I will show you. But when I type that in, it does give me 4. Otherwise, you could do it by hand. I just think on a timed test, like, why not use the calculator? However you get the right answer at the end is perfectly fine. You can multiply straight across and simplify at the end. You could also cross simplify. So like 5 and 25, 5 goes into both. So I could simplify like that. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 5 times. 4 and 32, 4 goes into both. 4 goes into 32 8 times. 4 goes into itself once. So then when you multiply straight across, it'll already be. So then 8 times 5 is 40. 1 times 1 is 1. So that's why the answer is 40. Okay, so then here's that goes. All right, solve 224 over 7. But if you're not getting a real calculator in advance for the test, then this is what you have to use. All right, but I should not see any long division anymore, ever. That's just a waste of time on a time test, plus it's not as accurate as a calculator. So the answer should have been 32. Moving on from that one. Okay, what number is opposite of negative 24? Okay, good. 100% accuracy. So opposite meaning opposite sign. But notice option green, that has absolute value bars in it. So let's practice absolute value for a second. Absolute value basically means how far away is this number from zero. So how far away is negative 24 from zero? Six of you doing the Kahoot, I feel like that's a really easy question. How far away is negative 24 from zero? 24. So the absolute value of negative 24 is 24. What's the absolute value of 24? How far away is 24 away from zero? Not negative 24, just 24. So you should never take the absolute value of something and get a negative, because it's asking you how far away is it from zero. The absolute value should always be positive. If it is negative, it makes it positive. If it's already positive, it stays positive. All right, but here's the next one. Okay, simplify the absolute value of negative 13. Okay, so there are some calculators. I mean, I think most graphing calculators have absolute value bars just in case, but notice that the given calculator doesn't have it. So you have to know, if you're using this one, that absolute value makes the number inside positive. Or if it's already positive, it stays positive. So negative 13 is 13 away from zero. Okay, on a coordinate plane, how would you get to the point negative 7, 8 from the origin? You're one of the few that got it wrong. Coordinate planes are very important to understand. They're two number lines put together. And a few tips. It goes X to the left, so the X-axis is always the axis that goes from left to right. And Y to the sky, so the Y-axis goes up and down. And these are number lines. So the X, I feel like, is easy to understand because we know as we go to the left, the numbers get smaller. And as we go to the right, the numbers get bigger. For the Y-axis, as you go up, the numbers get bigger. As you go down, the numbers get smaller. So it's two number lines put together. This question says from the origin. So what is the origin on a coordinate plane? Good, 0, 0. So where the two number lines intersect at 0, 0. So in that case, if I'm trying to find negative 7, 8, negative 7 would be this way, 7 to the left. So that's that size. And up 8. That's usually the order we go in. It really doesn't matter, but you could say up 8, left 7. The X is left to right, 8 is up or down. Or Y is up or down. All right, so then the next one. Okay, so what ordered pair tells you the location of point A, trying to make it bigger, as big as it'll go, sorry. And I think this one actually has the wrong answer marked, so don't pick the right answer. Sorry, I forget to change it. Don't pick the right answer. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, they have the wrong answer marked. It's actually at 6.5. I know it's hard to see. Unless that I could sit on this one, let me look on my computer. Yeah, that's at 6.5. So the wrong answer is marked. It should be 6.5, X first, Y second. So the people that actually, well, I told you not to pick the right answer, so the right answer should have been blue. All right, next one. Okay, what ordered pair tells the location of point G? This one's actually correct this time. So point G, that's this one. That's point G. Sorry, I know it's small. Okay, so this one, point G is on the y-axis. And we know that at the y-axis, all the x's are 0. So really, it should have been between red and green. But what's wrong with green is that they made 0 negative. So yeah, it should have been red. 0 is neither positive or negative. So you never write -0. Okay, so then here's the next one. All right, what is the distance between point H and point E? I'll make it bigger. So point H and point E, what's the distance? Okay. So this one was a bit easier than most distance problems because H and E are in a straight line, like they're not diagonal from each other. So when they're a straight line from each other, then you can just count 1, 2, 3, 4 away. And it didn't say anything about centimeters, so we're counting 4 units. If they never specify like the units, then you just say units. Anyway, if it was diagonal, like we wanted to find it from H to I or K to H, you would have to use the distance formula, which they would expect you to remember. It's a variation of Pythagorean theorem, but I'll just tell you that's a little bit easier. Okay, so this can find the distance on these this can find the distance between any 2 points on a coordinate plane, where one point is x1, y1, and the other is x2, y2. So, I mean, I don't need to for this one because it's so easy. Let me do H and F maybe. So if I did H as 1, 3 to point F, which is 2, 1, you would make one of them x1, y1, the other x2, y2, and plug it into this formula. So this would be something I would never put it on a flashcard or something before they do that. But the way that I labeled it, I would plug it in like this. 1 minus 3 is -2. 2 minus 1 is 1. -2 squared is 4. Get 4. 1 squared is 1. 4 plus 1 is 5. So it didn't work out to a nice number, but the distance between H and F would be whatever the square root of 5 is. Which is the decimal. All right. Questions on that? It is a variation of the Pythagorean theorem, the distance formula. If you guys like that better, then you would make a triangle, do a squared, or not a squared, but a, b, and c, and then Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then you can plug in 2, because that's the distance between this one to this one for the A. B is 1. And that's gonna give you the same answer once you go to the motion. So whatever is easier, whatever you can memorize easier on the test. But yeah, there's that. Okay, questions on that? And here's the link. Okay, so what's the value of x when it's 7x plus 5 equals 3 times 11? What's the value of that? One's just solving for the variable, or you have a few options. Like if you have no clue what to do on your ACT Aspire, if it is a multiple choice question, you could try just plugging in the answers and see which one gives you something that makes it true. But pretend it's not. On the right side, I would probably simplify that first before I continue. So what's 3 times 11? 33. And then now from here, it's just a 2-step equation. So whenever you're isolating the variable, do you start with what's closer or what's farther from the variable? Farther. And that would be the 5 because it's separated by a symbol. And then what else? Yeah, the 7 is like pushed right up against it. So you wouldn't get rid of that first. What's opposite of adding 5? Good. Whatever you go on one side, you do to the other side. Now I have 7x equals 33 minus 5 is 28. Opposite of multiplying 7 is dividing by 7. And then 28 divided by 7 is 4. Questions on that? Yeah, so then on to all right, so simplify this expression, 6 times 42 minus 30 in parentheses, then square. If you're using a calculator, make sure you use whatever you plan to use on the test. I personally would prefer a handheld calculator where you could type it all in at once and it does the order of operations for you. This one I'm not a huge fan of because unless I do the like exponent before multiplying, then it like gives me the wrong answer. Or let me try something else and see if it works. Okay, so let me try something different and see if it works. Okay, so it works if I remember to put the multiplication sign next to the parentheses where it says, what does it say? 6 times the parentheses. If you press it like that, then it gives you the right answer. If you, what's it called? Don't, like if I just type it in exactly how it looks, then it actually gives me the wrong answer. Tiana, make sure you come back for 5th hour.
Yeah, see, it just stays there. So if you're using this one, make sure you press the multiplication sign anytime. Don't assume that the parentheses indicate multiplication, even though they usually do. All right, but 864 is the answer. All right, what inequality is shown on this number line? What inequality is shown? Jaden? Yes. Okay, so inequalities. If you're doing it from the number line, in this case, they're using the variable x, but you would have a variable. You would compare it to the number that the circle is on. So it's on the number 4. So I'm going to leave some space. And the inequality symbol you use, because there's 4 different kinds, it depends on a few things. So one, if it's an open or closed circle. So if it's an open circle, what's my options for symbols? Or you can describe how they look if you don't remember what they're called. Okay, what about for closed circles? What should the symbol have if it's a closed circle on it? Yeah. A line underneath it. So for your closed circles, it would be this symbol or that symbol that equal to. Since this is an open circle, I can narrow it down to either of these. And the one that it'll be will depend on where the arrow is pointing. So is it pointing to numbers bigger or smaller than the 4? Are numbers like 1 bigger or smaller than 4? Smaller. So the variable is basically saying that all of these numbers are going to be less than 4. So y can be any of these numbers which are less than 4, and not including 4 because it's an open circle. If it includes it, then they shade it in just like how you would bubble like on a test. Okay, so you should be able to, wherever the arrow is on, plug in those numbers and you should make it true. 3 is less than 4. 2 is less than 4. Okay. So use the distributive property to simplify 7 times the difference of x and 4. So what happened with this one? So when we distribute, you take the outside number and multiply it by both of the terms inside. The signs, like we keep the sign that's in front of each term, but use your integer rules. So like 7 times x, so of them are positive, I get a positive 7x. 7 times a negative 4 is a negative 28. So yeah, so it's like, I don't know, I'm not really sure what happens, but that's the distribution. That's funny. You only combine like terms if they are alike. Next one. Solve the word problem. So Martin pays $800 a month for rent at his bakery. It costs him $14 to buy the supplies for each cake he bakes. Which expression best represents how much money Martin spends per month? Yes, better. Word problem, the key thing here is they're asking how much he spends, not like what his profit is or anything like that. How much is he spending per month? So in a month, how often does he pay rent? Like how many times? I know you guys don't pay bills yet, or maybe you do, but do you pay rent more than once a month? So it's just one time that he pays that 800. And then added to that, it does cost him $14 for each cake he bakes. So think about that logically, like if it's 2 cakes, he has to spend $28. If it's 10 cakes, he has to spend $140. That math that you're doing is you're multiplying 14 times however many cakes he's making. So anytime it says like each cake per person every day, that implies multiplication. So this is my equation. And the one that best matches that is the red. Where M is money and B is cake. Okay, find the mean of this number set, 12, 5, 7, 16, and 10. The mean, remember what that is, that was unit 1. What's another word for mean? Or can anyone tell me how to find the mean? Yeah. Perfect. So it's the sum of the numbers divided by your number of numbers, or you can say that in a different way that you understand it a different way. So it could be like the sum of your data divided by the number of data points. So the other word for mean is average. Both do the same thing. Where you add up the numbers, 12 plus 5 plus 7 plus 16 plus 10. And then divide by however many numbers you have. Okay, so when I added up the numbers, I got 50. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers in my data set. That's why the mean was 10. Mean should always be like a measure of center or like a typical value. It shouldn't be way far off from your data. It should be close to your data. Okay, find the range of that same data set, the range. How do you find the range of a data set? Five of you got it right, just by luck. Just regular range is your maximum minus your minimum. There's like things like interquartile range and things like that, but just regular range is your biggest number in your data set, which is 16, minus the smallest number in your data set, which is 5. 16 minus 5 is 11, so that's the range. That's where I ended with my second hour math lab, so we'll end it there too. We'll see who won. So if you're still working on something else, you keep working. But those that are doing the Kahoot, that one was our last one. So Joel, you have your choice of 5 assessment points, a homework pass, or something from the prize bin. What would you prefer? All right, do you want it for math lab or algebra? Okay. So then Frankie, would you rather have a homework pass or something from the prize bin? All right, so that means Rhea, you could pick from the prize bin. Could be either one. All right, so thanks, guys. It's on the back table right there.